posted about, it was actually a hurricane that was going on, and he said the only way we're not going to kill each other is coffee.
Today's episode of the 2448 is a fun one, but I forgot to record an intro. So this video might look a little different if you're viewing on YouTube. For those of you, I'm Sam from the 2448, and we're super excited to be hosting my friend Luke Schneider from Fire Department Coffee.
So you were just telling me about your wife was a barista, and you guys met up and started getting into coffee as you were working. Was it when you were in the Navy or after?
It was after the Navy. I was on the fire department for the city of Rockford as a firefighter. I don't even think I was a medic yet. I went to medics. Actually, I think I was a medic. I was going through medic school while starting the company.
Oh,
And,
wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. But so yeah, we started brewing it together, making it together, and then started roasting together. And we started doing tasting events for friends and family. And
That's cool.
and we started with some single origin coffees we were roasting, and then we started experimenting with barrel conditioned coffees, which then actually led to developing the spirit infused coffee that we make. And,
Yeah.
And then, yep, sorry, go ahead.
No. So what do you guys do today? Like if I know nothing about fire department coffee and you've got to tell me like in 2 seconds, what's the business all about?
We make great coffee. We have a mission to make great coffee and support our fellow firefighters and first responders.
That is so cool. I think that's a noble cause, especially with your background being a firefighter. And that's a pretty cool thing to kind of be into. So as you began kind of putting this business together, I mean, you know, did you love coffee when you were not younger, but like before the fire service, before the Navy? Was it something that was part of your life, or was it never really like a thing?
It wasn't a big thing. It was something that I knew about. Usually going to my dad's office, I would see like the coffee they had in the office, and then the sugar cubes, you know. And my brothers and sisters, we would take the sugar cubes and eat those, and that was
As every good kid does.
Yeah. Suck on the sugar cubes. But yeah, I didn't really get into like drinking coffee heavily until I was in the Navy. And then
well, I'll probably get into drinking both things when you join the fire service. You either get into coffee or alcohol, one or the other. Sometimes both.
right.
One's on the job, one's off it, I guess. That's awesome. So how did the whole thing start? Were you and your wife kind of like, hey, I love this, I want to start doing this as a business? Or was it not something that was kind of like on your trajectory? Because obviously being a firefighter is a full-time gig.
Yeah, I didn't really have like a trajectory or anything like that. It was kind of just like, I love coffee. I wanted to get into business, and I felt like there was an opportunity to do something good that we loved doing, and it made sense. You know, we were passionate about making coffee and the craft and helping firefighters and first responders. So it just made sense.
That's cool. Tell me a little bit about your kind of like before the business days. What were you motivated by? Because I feel like to start a business like you guys run takes a very different personality than like running a bakery or something. I mean, not that a bakery is a bad thing, but I mean, like I think of these little small, but you guys do so much cool stuff with media, with content, with, you know, engagement with your firefighters fund and the coffee stuff. What did you do before this business? Because there had to be something that spun your engine up to 1,000 RPM before you could, you know, kick this thing off.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I was gardening a lot. I was like really, I don't know, whatever I do,
Really?
it's like I just love learning about things. Like I don't read a lot of like the books that I read. I don't read you know, science fiction or anything like that. I just always like reading about stuff that I can teach or learn about. So I was into gardening for a while. I like doing that, and then working on the house and in the yard. And then yeah, the coffee thing sparked, and you know, with my background in the Navy and then the fire service, it's very team focused. So
Yeah.
I knew early on I needed to build a team, and that, you know, I'm not good at a lot of things, so I needed to bring on people that were good on certain things, and so very team focused, and that's I feel like what has been a big part of why we've been able to get to where we are today.
That's really cool. Did you were you like a team sports person a long time ago, or like what was behind that? Or did you just recognize like, hey, I know I can't do it all, so fine, I'm going to delegate quickly?
Well, I played soccer when I was younger, but primarily, like, actually, I was more on like not a lot of team sports, but I did boxing and judo, and I was into martial arts and stuff like that. But no, I think the military and the fire service very team focused, and you know, learning your place in the team and working together. Like, as a firefighter, you have a mission, and same in the military, you have a mission, and I feel like mission gives you purpose. And when you have a mission and it's clear what the mission is, then you can go after it as a team. And the mentality is, you know, you win as a team or you lose as a team. And when you surround yourself with good people and build a good team, you win more often than you lose. And and I think that's really what it is like you build a good team around you, good people that share the same values and share the same mission and see the vision and share the vision. And that's where the magic happens, I think.
Tell me a little bit about your team, because I know a bunch of the folks in various capacities, whether it's like marketing stuff or like I've met folks at shows or whatever. But how did you begin to find the right people that make up the fabric of your org? I think when we met, you must have been like, I don't know, five guys or something like that. You and your wife and a couple of the folks around. Maybe Brad was just on. Right. So how have you kind of pulled together this group of people that are so unique?
The first thing I realized was packaging and branding makes a major difference. So you can have the best coffee, but if the design is ugly and the outside appearance is ugly, people don't want it, you know. So you can, and we have done this, you know, but there's you can put something, the same coffee, in an ugly packaging, and people automatically, you know, they will judge it based off of the way it looks before they even taste it. So what I realized was that they need to want to enjoy it before they even try it. So so the first initial impression, you know, that people usually get by the brand and what the brand represents. So really early on, I actually found Brad, who is our chief creative officer, Brad Flaherty. And I started working with him. We connected. I actually reached out to him on Instagram and said, "Hey, do you design logos?"
I forgot the story.
Yeah, and
that's awesome.
He's like, "Yeah, I do." And then I was like, "Do you do packaging design?" He's like, "Yeah, I do." And then I was like, "Do you do can you do email stuff?" He's like, "Yeah, I could do that." And then it's like, "Hey, I need this and I need that," and it's like, pretty soon, Brad, you know, the company's growing, and then now Brad's on, you know, I think it's like 2 or 3 years he's been working with us full time now as our chief creative officer, and now we have an art director that works under him, and so that was the first thing I realized was the branding needed to be nice.
So did you start, like, you were doing the roasting and then you had other folks kind of doing the branding? Is that how you delegated the task workload, or do you also have someone else doing the actual ops as well?
I was doing, in the very beginning, I was doing everything: roasting, packaging, customer service, shipping, you know, everything. And then one of our first employees was Dave McWilliams, who's our chief roaster, and he's a retired fire captain. And he was baking. He was working at a bakery and doing baking. And he actually reached out to us. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking to do something different." And it's like, perfect, you know. So we taught him how to roast, and he started roasting coffee for us. And he was one of our first employees. And it started building from there. But it's crazy how it was like, it's always been the right people at the right time, and I couldn't have planned it if I wanted to, you know. It's like, I don't believe in luck and I don't believe in coincidences, you know, but it's like the people that have came into my life at the right time, and it's just, I really couldn't have planned it if I wanted to.
That's so cool. Tell me about as you think about, you know, before business and then after business. I mean, I think about in my life anyway, there's like, okay, before high vis, after high vis. And then I think about, like, in buildings as we move, there's like the big stages, like, oh, that was building 1, oh, that's building 2. But what was it like, When you joined the fire service, I mean, were you already doing business as you joined like at Rockford, wherever your first fire station was, or was that totally separate?
It was completely separate. Like I just I wanted to be a firefighter going into the Navy, and that was why I joined the Navy, so I can, get some experience, serve in the military, and then I wanted to be a firefighter in the Navy and get some experience that would help me get on a fire department when I got out. So that was my dream, and my focus was to be a firefighter, and I just loved it. And there was people that I worked with in the Navy that tried talking me out of it, saying like, firefighters don't actually fight fires. They go and usually sit at the station most of the time. And he's like, my uncle's it was a master chief in the Navy who was telling me that are you sure you want to be a firefighter? Like, you don't even get to really fight fires. And then I go work for Rockford Fire Department, and then the first day I got 2 fires.
No way.
Yeah,
like, I told you, buddy.
It's really like it's the same in the military. It's like it really depends on your experience and where you're assigned and where you go, because that might be true for some departments where they maybe run fewer calls, but on other departments it can be a totally different story, So I got a lot of experience like early on with Rockford. It's a good department. I was really grateful for that opportunity, and it was a really tough decision when I left the fire department to go all in on the business. But it just seemed like it was, it needed to happen.
The right next step. No, that's cool. So it's actually really funny. You were talking about branding being so important in the coffee business. Like, you got to want to drink the coffee before you drink it. And it's really funny. It sounds like you really wanted to be a fireman before you were a fireman. And it's like, I wonder if there's kind of similarities or parlays between the two, where it's like, I'm going to make this job what I want this job to be, and I'm going to make sure I get into that. I feel like there might have been some of that where the old salty dog says, you run BS all the time. And then the person that really wants to be there is like, I'm going to find a way to make BS worthwhile, make that the impact I want to make.
Yeah.
Did you have other folks in your family that were military or fire, or was this like first the first?
My grandpa was in World War II. Not my dad wasn't. My dad's an engineer, but my father-in-law was in Vietnam. My brother-in-law also served, and my brother actually just got out of the Navy. I'm trying to get him to join our team, and
that's awesome.
But yeah, we have we have some military people in our family too.
That's cool. Have you guys, like whether it's your fire service family or it's your home life family, do you talk a lot about business? Is that like a common theme amongst your group or your peers, or what? How does that all play in?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think you can. It's hard to shut it off. It really is. And even my wife will tell me, all you talk about is business, and it's really difficult when that's all you do. Like, I work, you know how it is. I know you work all the time, and you're working crazy hours, and it's most entrepreneurs and business owners, like, it takes a unique person to do that, because you really have to go all in. Like, I've said this before, but people talk about passive income, and I really don't. I've never experienced that in my life, and it's like, you got to work for it. You got to work hard, and you got to be willing to do what it takes. And I think that's where the military experience and the fire service really has helped me, because there's a lot of calls or scenarios where you don't have an option. Like, this is what you have to do, and it needs to happen, so we need to figure it out.
There's no 911 backup. Right. Like, you are 911. You gotta figure it out.
Yeah, you can't hit the stop button and like, no, I'm out right now. Like, it doesn't work that way. You gotta work through it. So it's just like business. When there's a problem, it's easy for a lot of people to want to quit, but you don't have that option when you've got a lot of skin in the game. And we didn't come from money. Like, this wasn't our money that was given to us to invest in the company. My wife and I, we put everything we had into it.
Really?
We racked up a bunch of debt. We maxed out our credit cards. We had $20,000 to start, and that was all we had in our bank account. And we said, okay, we're gonna budget 20,000. We budgeted all the money we had. We were pretty newly.
Every dollar had a name on it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And then we spent that money pretty quickly, and then we, needed something else. We need a new grinder. We need a new roaster, and we, put it on a credit card and maxed out our cards, and it paid
It's
off.
gotta be
But
terrifying, right?
yeah,
At a
it
time,
was.
especially.
It was, yeah. But I try not to worry in life. Like, there's a lot that's out of our control. I think if you know you're doing the right thing, and you know that where you're going. It's not like we were kind of blind in a lot of things, but we knew what the goal was, and we just kept working towards that.
Did you guys talk at your fire station a lot about, like, were there other business people that you bounce stuff off of, or like kitchen table talk, or was it really kind of separate as you were kicking things off?
There was certain people I can talk to. Actually, one of them that I was real close with, and there's a lot that actually I worked with that actually work for us full time and actually have a significant role in the company and a big part of the team. But there's certain people, I just wouldn't talk about it around, just because I didn't want anybody to think that was, I wasn't focused on being where I was at the moment, and I had a job to do. So I didn't want people to think I was distracted. But there was certain people I would talk to, and one of them was also, he was military, he was in the Air Force, and he left and started his own company, and now they're franchising their company, and they're actually doing really good. And we actually, the company's called Candy Cloud, and they sell a lot of like treats and stuff, and it's really, they like took off on TikTok and stuff like that, and people just loved what they were doing. And we actually supply their coffee for them. So
no way, that's awesome. It's like keep the network close to each other, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool. So I think that firefighters, the whole point of this show, right, is talking to first responders and people around the first responder community about, like, there's this unique fabric of a firefighter that lends really well to being a business person, and I don't know what it is. And that's the kind of like the question I want to answer as we go through all these episodes with all these great business people is, what is it that makes a first responder so well adept to being a really compelling business person that I think can do good? Because you think about business, everyone hates big corporate because, what are they really doing? They're just making dollars, and whose back is it off? Whatever, I love business, but that's the perception. When people think about firefighter-owned businesses, there are so many firefighter-owned businesses that do so many good things with business, and they turn a profit. And I don't know what it is that makes a firefighter or other public servant, police officer, EMT, whatever, particularly well poised to run these businesses. And I kind of want to just ask, if you had to reflect on your time at the fire department and you think about kind of what that is that makes that cohesion, that makes that step so natural, what do you think some of that glue looks like?
I think firefighters and first responders, naturally, a lot of them are willing to take risks. And I think that's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Also, they're team focused and mission focused. So, to be successful, you got to build a team. And that's just my opinion, unless you're just a consultant or something like that. But if you're going to build a business that needs a team, firefighters know exactly like how that works, because every job on a fire ground has everybody's got their job. Yeah. And so you got a mission to do, and you do it together. And I think that's a big part of it, is the all-in mentality of, we're going to take some risk and we're going to do it together, and we're going to go after it, and we're not going to go into it thinking that we're going to fail. We're going to go into it thinking that
knowing we're going to succeed, we're going to have to adapt, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're going to adapt. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to get it done.
Yeah, that is so cool. When I think about your business, I think about you guys feel different. When I think about firefighters, and like a lot of these traditional fire companies, maybe not firefighter-owned businesses, but just businesses in our space, they are very traditional. People talk about firefighters just being like old school. But like, you guys feel new school. You've got like, you think about some of the work that you guys do in your creative department. Let's talk a little bit about like how you guys leverage social media so well. And you think about a coffee company, how does social media and coffee like really interact? But you've done such a phenomenal job of building this brand around, whether it's what Jason's doing or it's Fenton, any of these guys. And it's such cool content that gets created. And then coffee is kind of the backstory. how did you get out of the traditional, like, I only wear leather and I knock walls down, and think like, all right, I'm progressive, I'm business, I'm fast, I'm going to get into social media. Let's own this space. What was that all about? Because you guys did great there.
I didn't figure it out. Like Jason's, that's he runs that as social media is like, but that just goes back to the team aspect. So he was, one of the guys I, early on teamed up with. He became a shareholder. Actually, Brad is too, a shareholder, and they are an important part of the team, and we're an important part of the team to get to where we are at. But it's Jason. That was kind of shortly after I met Brad. Somebody tagged us on social media and said, "Hey, you guys check this." He posted about, it was actually a hurricane that was going on, and he said the only way we're not going to kill each other is coffee. And then somebody tagged Fire Department Coffee and said, "Hey, you guys should try this coffee," or something like that. And, yeah, we sent him some coffee. He liked it, and at that time, he was new too. It was National Geographic's Fire Department edition or something like that, if anybody remembers that. And then he actually, changed it to Fire Department Chronicles. But he had like 10,000 followers on Facebook, I think, at the time, and he was just getting started too. But I knew that I wasn't a personality. I don't like to be on the focus of attention. I don't like to be on camera too much.
So glad to get you on here. I was like, I want another man behind the story.
Well, we've talked multiple times, and we got a friendship and stuff, and I was really looking forward to this just because I love following what you're doing too, and I think I think you're brilliant, and the things that I've seen you do and the things that you're doing, it's just very impressive. So you're one of the entrepreneurs that I look up to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So so Jason, we started, he came out, we got to know each other. We started working together, and it just seemed like a good fit. And he's been running that social media side, and he's got a gift for that. He's really good at it. And then, not too long after, we started getting Fenton involved, and we got really good people that can focus on those things. I'm not writing scripts. I'm not the one in the videos, and I'm cool with that. I'm really happy doing the part that I do, and let them do what they're good at. So
I think that's a unique skill set that sets you as a business person apart from so many others, because so many people, I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like, when there's an opportunity to be on camera, I'm like, kick the door down, give me the chance to do it. And then it's like, give an opportunity to weld something, kick the door down, I want to go weld something. Then there's an opportunity to go solder. I'm like, whatever. Like, I love to be involved in everything. And knowing your lane, I think, is a skill that's not natural for so many people. And it's hard to say, like, all right, nope, this is what those guys are great at. I'm going to go empower them to go do that. And I think maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not, I don't know, but it sounds like you don't love to be on the camera, but it's so cool to see, like, you are really leading that business without having to take the credit for every piece of content or everything. I mean, like, the guys have their own whole personalities that are built around these things, and the brand is growing with multiple people. That I'm just really impressed to watch that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Is it hard for you to kind of have other faces be the face of the business, as you're kind of like, you're the founder and you're the meat and the glue that puts the whole thing together? But is that hard, or is it like, for you, it's no thing?
No, I love it. Actually, I like being, in the background. I like that. I like seeing other people shine, because that's what they're good at, and yeah. Jason's such a lively personality. Like, he's natural. Like, it's not an act. He is like that all the time. And you put me on camera like Fox News or something like that, and I'm like,
which I've seen, by the way. You did great there.
And well, no, I don't. I'm like, I freeze up, and I'm like, I feel that I've gotten more comfortable over time doing that kind of stuff. But like him, he just shines. You put a camera on him, and he's like, he just loves it, Yeah, and he he's himself all the time, you know,
Yeah.
and we go places. It's crazy now because like it doesn't even have to be like a firefighter event. It's just anywhere in public. He's pretty well known.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
cool.
so you go out to a restaurant with him, and people will come up to him and ask for a signature or a picture
No
or
way.
something.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
crazy. It's crazy, but it's just he always takes the time to anybody that comes over to say hi. He always takes the time. He's a good guy. I really love having him on our team, and he's a big part of it.
There are multiple people on your team that have those same threads. I don't know if they're personality traits or what they are, but when I think about you, when I think about Jace, I think about even just like at FDIC, like you just hang out with anybody who's there at the booth. They all have this kind of like maybe caring, or you know when you walk in some places and they're just like, yep, and they're like looking at the person next to you instead of you, and you're like, I'm here, like I've waited in this line for 45 minutes to come up and shake your hand and say hello, and they just don't care. I think you've done such a great job of kind of cultivating that across even like when I was in the roastery, the guys, the little green, I think it was a little green roaster. The guy that was running this little, like the little roaster that could was sitting there, but he like stopped, said hello, told me all about the thing. It's like, dude, you're so busy. But I so appreciated the way it made me feel to talk to your team. And it's so cool to watch that because you can't pay for that. And you can't just teach that. That has to be something that you recruit or that you build and cultivate. And it's, it's really cool, man. I think it's great.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for saying that. It really is like the culture you build, you know, like I think it sets the tone from the top, you know, or whoever is leading the company or leading the team.
Yeah.
It really sets the tone, you know, like, hey, we're family focused. We take care of each other. We don't talk bad about each other. Like that's in our rules and regulations. You know, we don't talk bad about each other. It's gossip is not allowed. Like we're here we're here after the same goals, same mission, you know, and we're all on the same team. So, you know, if somebody needs help, let's help them. Let's show them what they need to coach them or whatever to get to where they need to improve or whatever it is. But you know, sometimes even myself, like I need to surround myself with good people, you know, that don't have egos and that are just they understand the mission and they can also help me be better at what I need to do.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear. It's not a common thing, but it's, you know, like you can just feel when you talk to a business that has that. I'm curious, do you train and are you intentional about that during your onboarding? Is it like you talk about it with your people, or how do they know that's the way you think?
I feel like that's like the team does that, like, because, you know, at some point, like the people that have been here for a while, there's a good chance that, you know, because we're a pretty new company, so like there's a good chance that possibly I train them or somebody that I train them. And so I feel like at this point now, once you it's kind of like once you build the engine just runs. And then, so it's like now I like building engines and they're not real engines, but they're like, it's an engine that runs and it just goes on its own. And that's what we're seeing like with the business and the growth. Like we have different revenue streams, and it's not just coffee, you know. So these different revenue streams, you build a team around, and as soon as you can start, like for me, as soon as I can start removing myself more from that team, the better that team is.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like it's like if you can fire yourself from the job, let the team do it. Why do you need? Then you can go start the next thing. Go find the next revenue stream. That's like the whole point of being in business is to go. But not everyone's gifted in knowing what's the next revenue stream to chase, because you got to have so much totality of knowledge amongst all the different things to know how they fit together. So if you can get the team spun up and let them run, then hell yeah, fire yourself from that job and go do the next job. You know.
Exactly, and I love removing myself from stuff.
That's so funny. I sometimes say, I say it to our people, and they're just like, "Why do you want to what?" But it's so funny because it's exactly what in order to scale a business, you have to put the right people in place, get that little engine spinning,
Yep.
You know, touch it, put fuel in it,
Yep.
but let it run. What
Sure,
are some of those things when people think about fire department coffee? Obviously, they think about cups of coffee, but what other things do you guys do? Like, what makes up the business?
So primarily it's coffee. Yeah, we roast like that is you know, we roast it here in Rockford, Illinois, and we ship it here. We have a fulfillment center here in Rockford, Illinois, so we ship it. We have operationally our main teams are our coffee team, our logistics, which is like our shipping team, and then our customer service team, and then we have like administrative team members that help, you know, connect all the dots, and then we have a media team, and then we have, you know, special projects. We got guys like John Bryan, our chief growth officer. He's now working on special projects. We're going heavy into B2B next year, so like it's now
setting up distribution and all that sort of stuff.
Right. Big corporate partners, and
That's exciting.
getting into racing and automotive, and we're going heavy into that market. Yeah, and so it's
How do they thread together? Like, how do you like? Okay, yeah, I think there's a tie in this corporate distribution. Or there's a tie to automotive. How do you figure out, like, is it because everyone loves firefighters and everyone loves your mission and everyone loves coffee? So it's like you could be anywhere. Or how do you pick that?
Yeah, that's what so the big thing with our company is like we never sought out to be the coffee just for firefighters. We wanted to be like, firefighters is who we are because like a lot of our team is firefighters. Our tagline is run by firefighters because as the business grew, it was just a natural progression for me to recruit people that I knew and trusted and had, you know, and knew that they would do a good job in these different areas. And so that was like a natural progression. But I think that just people support that mission of supporting firefighters and first responders. So like, you know, the firefighter community is just a community that we're a part of and that is close. It's our core community. And so we always want to, you know, stay true to that and be involved in that community and make sure that we're giving back and supporting those that are serving in their communities. And I feel like America just supports that, and they support our mission to support our first responders. And so, so
by getting business to fire department coffee, like, it's, if I had to choose where my dollars are going to go, I can send them to some company that doesn't care about doing good in the world. Or I can send them to some company that's going to help support the mission of first responders. Like, are you kidding me? Even if I don't know anything about first responders, if I die on 911, I want those guys well taken care of, and gals, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. And so racing, you know, that's a lot of they support a lot of veteran-owned companies as well as first responders, and it's very family focused. And which we are too, and like our content, you'll notice we don't cuss, we don't use vulgarity, we don't post anything on our social media that we wouldn't let our kids watch. And
I like that about you guys, because it's like, because the fire service can be crass. I mean, obviously you were a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
So it has the ability to sometimes, I tell people it's the least politically correct place on the planet is a fire station. But there's no need for it not to be wholesome, especially when you're touching a broader market. Like, if your market's not just firefighters, you could have someone's kid who wants to be a firefighter one day, who loves the public safety industry, watching your stuff. And I mean, like, my wife's little siblings in Australia watch your stuff, and they'll text me and be like, "Oh, did you see this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we know this guy.
Awesome.
It's awesome. It's too funny." It's cool to see, like, around, you know. But when you think about your idols or people that idolize you are like these kids and impressionable people around the country, I think it's noble, maybe it's a good word, or like, it's cool that you guys are able to harness the feeling and the things that make firefighters unique, and not harness the things that are maybe like not exactly family friendly. I don't know what the word is.
we want to be a positive light for the fire service, and you know, we want to help, you know, just be a positive image for America to see that, like, what first responders are doing and how that impacts them, because, you know, we've been focused on giving back to sick and injured firefighters and first responders because, like, firefighting takes a toll. It takes a toll on firefighters and first responders too, so the different jobs, EMS or police, like it takes a toll in different ways, the things, the experiences, the exposures. I mean, the lifespan of a firefighter is usually less than someone who's not a firefighter. They're exposed to cancer and all kinds of things. So it's we want to make sure that we're out there taking care of those that are taking care of our communities and serving our communities.
That's really cool. I don't know why it makes me think of, I can think of calls that I ran that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And I think about things that I do in business that are maybe impacted by that. And I feel like, I don't know if maybe you have similar experiences, but the history of being in that industry, whether it's military, which I never was, or fire service, you do understand a little bit of like the why, or a little more of like, hey, our mission is not, I mean, maybe yours is, but like, it's not, great coffee fuels the fire service, but then great family also keeps the fire service supported, and humor keeps the firefighter whole. And I feel like and having the rest of the world who are not firefighters looking at your business, looking at your not your target audience, but the audience that kind of is the focus of the content that you create, I think is a really cool thing. Wearing my first responder hat versus my business person hat, but it's like, hey, there's someone, flip the script. Like, yeah, as a Joe citizen, I want to support someone that's doing this. And as a firefighter, I love to have the support, because there's so many times you see these cities burning and people like losing their mind over stuff, and not the political side of things, but like these things happen. And then sometimes first responders feel like, does my community care about me? And when there's businesses that are supported by the broader country who are then supporting their mission, the good ones then flourish. And I think that's so cool. And it's a neat place to be. We don't touch, but B2C, like nobody's buying a FireTech brow light for their, Honda Civic. It's just not going to be a thing. But you guys have the ability to touch. I could be a soccer mom, whatever. Maybe I couldn't, but somebody could be a soccer mom, and they could, like you can buy a fire department coffee. It's so cool that you can touch and support the industry broader than just the walls of our community.
Yeah, everybody loves coffee, and they can, everybody can sit around the table, enjoy a good cup of coffee, and yeah, so it brings people together for sure.
I want to ask you about something that I struggle with all the time. I've been so excited to actually get the chance to chat with you, regardless of podcast or otherwise. But when I started our business, I was in the bays of our fire station. Like, I was a little volunteer fire. I was actually not a firefighter first. Then I became a firefighter because nobody wanted to listen to me because I didn't have any credibility. But anyway, I'd be in the bays doing whatever. Like, the job was check the trucks off, make sure you're in service. Once you're in service and the trucks are off and station duties are done, you can play business, sure. But as soon as that pager goes off, you got to be back to fire service. We do our training, that sort of stuff. But I sometimes struggled with, as we were beginning to grow, like people would be looking at, they'd ask questions. Oh, in business, you must be a gazillionaire. And it used to weigh on me so much, because it's like, dude, I'm making $10 an hour on an ambulance. Like, I'm definitely not a gazillionaire. And trust me, the business costs more to run than I'm making. And so I used to have this battle that would go back and forth between the perception of what it means to be a business person and what I felt like I was called to do, because I love the fire service. I still work part-time on an ambulance because I just love that community. And I don't know how, just totally honest questions, like, how did you manage those types of perceptions that just curious minds want to know about business? But then it seems to cloud the way that I can participate in the local small town fire service, because people think differently of you when you're in business, especially as you're starting in the fire station. I mean, you're there, like you're there doing fire service, but then there is off time. Did you ever wrestle with that?
Yeah, but I shrug it off. I think I was able to shrug it off pretty quick, like, because I feel like if you know that what you're doing, like, you're doing the right thing, like, there's always going to be people that are quarterbacking and having their opinions. And I remember when I first launched Fire Department Coffee, there was, I heard from other firefighters is like, hey, so-and-so said that's a dumb idea and that's not going to work.
Yeah,
and,
then it's like, what the hell?
Yeah, and it's like, well, I mean, I don't know how that's productive or like a positive or like why they would even say that, but okay, they're entitled to their opinion. It's not going to change anything I'm doing, and so, yeah, I think that just staying focused. I mean, for all the negativity that, there's going to be negativity anywhere you go, but for all the negativity, like surround yourself with positivity and surround yourself with positive people. And so I've just been very blessed to be surrounded by a lot of really good, positive people and that share the same things. And, I still drive actually now lately I've been driving Firecat, which has been pretty cool. but I still have my Pontiac that I drive. It's beat up. It was the car that I first purchased. A new car, and I've had it for like 10 plus years, and I just don't see a reason to buy a new car unless why do I need to buy a new car if I got a car that's running good? I've always been like that, like not really money. It was never about money. It was always about like, how do I
impact maybe?
Yeah. Like, and how do I take what I've been given and be a good steward of it and then multiply it that can impact other people and and my big vision is to build global missions that are sustainable, that have global impact. And that's where I want to, that's where I might, like my big vision is where this is going. But that's, it's like steps, like here's the goal and I need to do this and this and this. And that's kind of how my brain works, is like, I kind of plan out my, not to have it like a detailed plan or anything, but just kind of the direction you're going and the goals.
Yeah. It sounds like you do a good job of keeping mission before, all the other stuff. And maybe that's good. I don't know what the word is, solace. Like when I think about the people sometimes get on my skin because they want to get too close to the business. Like, oh, I want to know all the I want to know who you're talking to. Who are the customers? What executives do you know? What's the story behind, like how much money is someone spending? And I'm just like, I like the way you put it. Like, I want to create these engines of change around the world that do good. And it's like, those dollars that get generated by our business those are going to fuel the next thing. And our mission, we help first responders do their job safely and effectively after dark so they can save lives. But ultimately, we want to help people that do jobs that matter, do their jobs well. And so those jobs that matter, I think about like my hero in business is Mike Rowe. And Mike is, maybe a business person, but not really a business person, but a supporter of the business people. And I think that to support others doing things like what Mike does, that requires profit. Profit is not like, it's not the poison that people think it is. It's the power that it needs to be in order to accomplish those bigger picture visions that I think are what set companies like Fire Department Coffee apart, where you really do see farther than just the trees. You're looking at the whole forest and beyond at the horizon. And that's a big difference. I think that to think about being a good steward of the dollars versus just like, having, I think it's so cool to hear.
Absolutely. Even if you say you make a lot of money or whatever, are you going to sit on that and just retire and go sit on a beach or something like that? It's like,
what do you do with it?
Yeah. How do I take this money, invest it, and have even more impact and multiply it that in a way that's going to change people's lives and bring the people that help you get to where you're at, bring them along with it and make them a part of it and share those visions with them and continue to surround yourself with those people that share the vision and build that, and when you do that, I feel like it attracts even more people that have talent that also share the same vision and want to be a part of it.
That's kind of that fabric. That's when I think about your team, it must be people see or they feel it. It's like body language says more than your mouth. And so they must be able to feel that, like when they work, with interviewing or whatever. It's like, that's where I want to go. Who are some of your business idols? Who are some of the people that you look up to that you think do that really well?
I really like Chick-fil-A. I like, they have a lot of good leadership.
Do they have those in Illinois?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I grew up in Atlanta, so they were everywhere down there.
Actually, I just met the owner of the Rockford Chick-fil-A last night. He came over to my wife and I were doing Christmas shopping. We we sat down and had some Chick-fil-A before we were going out. And then the owner came over. He's like, "Hey, are you guys at Fire Department Coffee?" And yeah, and I was like, "Yeah, that's us." And he's like, I thought that was." And I was like, "Are you the owner here?" And we were just talking about it and like how he got into it, and just they're a company that has really built a good culture. And so,
and they've scaled a good. That's what I'm so impressed about Chick-fil-A is their scale of culture. They started small, but they still feel the same. I mean, I wasn't around 100 years ago when they started, but even in 20 years, even the huge company they are today feels like it did 20 years ago. My pleasure and the way they treat you and greet you. And
absolutely, and so I don't always just look at the leaders of the company. I kind of look at the company too, and like companies that I look up to, and see kind of what they built, and then I look at like who's involved and what kind of team they've built, and so I do a lot of that on LinkedIn, like looking at other companies that
you're the king of LinkedIn. I am so jelly of your LinkedIn world.
I love LinkedIn. You can go. I mean, it's a great way to also do like just look at other companies and see how they're structured and what kind of positions they have. And it kind of gives you an idea of, okay, what that person, you try to like kind of figure out what that person does in that job and why it's important to that business. And so it's just cool to look at. There's a lot of good information on LinkedIn.
That's pretty cool. How many followers do you have on LinkedIn now? When we met, it was like 25,000 or connections or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think it's like 30 some thousand or something, I think, followers, but I don't really look at that too closely. I just like I like to share the journey. I think it's good to share the journey, and LinkedIn's really good for that, is like sharing that journey, and like people that are also involved in business or want to grow their own careers or their business paths and share their journeys. So I think LinkedIn is a great platform for that.
When I watch you interact on LinkedIn, I love to see, because you'll like stuff or comment on just like little things that I see you connect very well with folks. But then I also see some of these really inspiring story pieces. I mean, like, I don't know if it was Google or it was Fox or like one of a million that have run really cool stories on your business. But how do you end up falling into these situations where it's like, hey, I got this person I want to talk to. And it's like no small feat. It's like some incredible story. You're either telling or you're telling on their show or they're participating in something that you guys are doing. But how do you end up falling into those things? Do you have a publicist working 24 hours a day, or is your story so compelling people want to grab it?
We've just been blessed. I think we do have we do have a team that does PR and stuff like that. But I feel like we got early on connected with Google too. Like they did a story on us, and I built some relationships with some people at Google who have been very supportive, and they support veteran-owned companies. And so that was the reason why they spotlighted us, and that was really cool. And then even Capital One, I got to be a part of their Catapult program, and then so there's a lot of big organizations out there that also want to support smaller businesses, and especially ones that are having impact and have a mission, and veteran-owned as well.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think that you guys have veteran ownership and lots of veteran and first responder employees. So, like, overall, it's maybe not an easy business to support, but it's a great business to support, So, thanks. I want to know a little bit about kind of like where y'all are heading, like in terms, like I think maybe you shared a picture of a coffee store or something. Like, are you guys building out a physical location thing as well, or was that like an April Fool's joke?
No, it was real, but we actually bought the building already. But now, yeah, so that there's massive potential with our brand because of the way it connects, with people, and that's a big part of it. Like the stuff we talk about, like on social media and stuff, it's building that community, and then engaging with that community, and that builds loyalty, you know, and it builds awareness around the brand. And we want to create experiences. So we want to, anything you do, we don't want it to, like when you taste the coffee, we want it to be a great experience. When you see the coffee, we want it to be a great experience. When you order, we want it to be a great experience. When you receive it, we want it to be a great experience when you open the package. And anytime we have, you know, this year actually, we have like, or 2023 we're going into, we have like 40 major event activations. And we're...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're setting up and doing the whole thing.
Yeah, in major markets where there's a lot of people, and you know, our plan is to go out there and just engage with the community and with different communities. And
so not just fire service stuff. This is like broad market.
Right. And so we just feel that our brand has such a massive potential for just creating great experiences and memories. And I think that's where the magic happens. And so I think that cafes are in the future. Right now, we've been experiencing like so much growth in grocery. And so we're expanding that very quick, like in the drug, mass, club, grocery, food services. You know, we're growing in some of that too, but primarily like our e-commerce has been the core. We look at e-commerce as our core because that allows us that D2C, that direct relationship with our customers, the direct supply chain, and then it also builds like our team and our infrastructure. And we've spent a lot of capital that we've been bootstrapped, you know, to build and invested in our operations. And so now we're very well positioned to scale all of that. And so now 2023, we're projecting quadrupling our growth to just really put the gas on. And
that's awesome. So you're inching up that Inc. 5000. You'll be in the top 10 here soon.
I think 2023 and 2024 are going to be our biggest years. And
that's exciting.
Just because we're now in a position to where we can do it sustainably, and that's where I think, you know, businesses like that. There's different business models out there, and I think like to build a sustainable one, you got to build it first. You know, you got to build it and then grow it.
Really focus on that foundation and get it spinning, right?
Absolutely.
Like a little engine.
Absolutely. Or a big one. So
a giant one, exactly.
Yeah, we like creating little engines too, but the big one is our direct to consumer, you know, e-commerce. That's the big engine that and that's connected to the social media, the online presence, the digital footprint, and then the rest kind of builds off from there. Yeah.
I want to hear a little bit about the things that you've had to learn, like difficult lessons. I mean, I know we got to wrap up here shortly, but I also am dying to just hear, like, where has it been hardest for you in this journey so far? What have you stumbled with, or what have you struggled with?
There's been a lot of struggles. That's why I'm like thinking about. There's been a lot of
list them all, Drew.
What's a good one? I mean, growing a business requires a lot of times a substantial amount of capital, and that's always been a challenge because we've been bootstrapped. And as I was saying early on, like we in the very beginning, my wife and I, we racked up a lot of debt. We maxed out our credit cards. I'm not saying that people should do that or I recommend that, but it's a part of our journey, and that, you know, we really pushed ourselves with just doing what needed to happen and what we needed to keep moving forward. And so that's always been a challenge of like, well, we need a bigger space, and now we need bigger equipment, and then you're growing, and it's like you're focusing on like, I want to be profitable, but I also want to grow at the same time. And it's like you got to really find that balance of how much do you want to grow right now, because it's gonna, you know, a lot of times that growth costs money. So because you need to be able to support it. So a lot of that is that one of the big challenges has been that is like the balance between growing and managing cash flow. Cash is king, and you can't run out of cash. So yeah, as you were saying earlier, like a lot of what you have invested is probably like, people see what you have, but it takes a lot to keep that engine running, and so balancing that has been challenging. But fortunately, again, I've been very blessed to have good people around me. One of my advisors, Jeff Fahrenwald, is speaking of business people, he's a business leader that I look up to, and he's been in all kinds of business, and so he's really helped me look at financial statements, and that's another thing. Like I had no experience. I didn't know what a balance sheet was or a P&L, and like what's this income statement? And then like I figure out the P&L is the same thing as an income statement. It's like, yeah,
and then it all matters too. You're like, oh shit, I actually know this stuff.
Yeah, and I actually have to look at these numbers and know what it means, and like know how to look at it. And he taught me how to like look at things from like percentages and how to scale things and get the full picture. And so those are all things that having to learn, and having a learning curve when I didn't come from business. I didn't go to business school or anything like that. I've just had to learn fast. So that's been challenging. And it's been very challenging, but I've been very blessed to have really good people around me to help us and, build those proper relationships that you need, like with the bank and stuff like that, to help fund some of the growth and making sure that you have enough cash flow to really do what you need to do and stuff like that.
What do you think firefighters need to know that might be considering starting a business? If they wanted to just, like, they've been dreaming about it and they see your story as an inspiration, what's good advice for them?
I'd say really think about if that's what you want, if that's truly what you want. Because for me, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I'm glad I did, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities that we've had and the growth that we've had, and I feel really blessed to just be a part of this team. But like, it has been a lot of sacrifice on my family. My wife and I we had a very difficult time, and we were able to work through it. We're both believers, like we're Christians, and that's our faith has really brought us together and helped us, stay together because we believe in that. But we've been able to work through it. But it's like not being home and working and literally sleeping at the roastery. I had a cot there, sleeping there, like that takes a lot of sacrifice. And for me, it was like once I was in, I was all in, and it's one of those things. I couldn't turn it off because it's not in my. I don't quit. Like that's just not in my nature to give up or like let something not see it through. Yeah. So I would just say really think about that and balancing your family life and your sleep and your health, like because that was for many years. I maybe get 4 hours sleep a night, sometimes no sleep. I'd come from the fire station and not get any sleep at night, be up all night, and then go to work the next day and work all through and you got to make that up, and so if you're working all the time and you're not sleeping and you're not, firefighting is already like one of those jobs that takes a serious toll on you on your health if you don't take care of yourself properly. So like adding more work
on top of it.
Yeah. So I would just say, like, my advice would be like, just think about it if it's truly what you want and how, that's going to impact your family. And if you're married, talk to your wife about it. Like, make sure she's on board too, because I can say from my own personal experience, I didn't know what I was signing up for, and I don't think my wife did either. And once we were in it, there was no
it's hard to
turning
stop.
back. Yeah, it is.
That's a really interesting thing. Like if you don't know what you don't know, but then then you're pregnant with it, it's like I can't drop this. I've already left the fire station. Now I'm fully into it. What am I going to do? I can't go back. So the only way forward is forward. So make a good evaluation before you take that jump, because it's a big jump. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, man, Luke, this has been so exciting. I've enjoyed chatting with you and just hearing more about your story and the fire department coffee story. If our viewers or listeners want to find out more, that they couldn't just Google fire department coffee and find all sorts of stuff, where would they go to learn more about you, to join your coffee of the month, all that sort of stuff? Where would they go?
They can just search fire department coffee, and we'll be the first thing that pops up.
Media team's doing a good job then.
Yep.
That's great. Well, thanks so much for being on the 2448, and we will look forward to supporting you guys however we can in the future, and just keep up the great work.
Thanks, Sam. It's great talking with you. Always a pleasure talking with you. I always love seeing you at the events and stuff too. It's great hanging out with you.
Likewise. Cool. We'll see you later.